Mike Newell was the director of Donnie Brasco. And I remember, I think it was the first day that I was working, and there was Al and Johnny Depp and Bruno Kirby and Michael Madsen. Anyway, we're there, and we're in New York, and we're on the street of New York, and it was cold day, and this was the scene where Sonny Red comes in. Anyway, so after I did a take, Mike Newell would come up to me and he'd whisper in my ear and he'd say, "Robert, now do it for the first time. Do it for the first time." So that, to me, that, it says it all. The audience, the camera only wants to see it for the first time. And then it's alive, it's spontaneous. So, it's the actor that's able to work moment to moment and not know where he's going. It's going on that boat like in uncharted waters and see where it takes you. And then it's for the first time. And then it's a surprise for the audience and for the actor, for the artist.
And you mentioned Donnie Brasco, and the Donnie Brasco movie, was based on Joe Pistone character with the alias, Donnie Brasco. Did you? I know there was a book that was written before the movie actually came out. Did you at all know the story of Donnie Brasco before the book came out, or before you joined?
I read the book. Unfortunately, I forget. I should know that. The writer, I forget who the writer is, but it was a great book. And I met Joe Pistone on the set, and he was quite an interesting guy. And I asked him. I said, "Joe," I said, "tell me something. What was the most difficult thing about your experience, your role in doing this in life?" And he said, "Well, he was a college graduate. He was an educated guy." And he said, "Well, the hardest part was hanging out with these guys because all they talked about was their cars and their, and gambling. And so to him, it wasn't stimulating, but yet, he did what he had to do. And, anyway, it was a great film,
Yeah, and you were so good in it, as Sonny Red, and it was great because, in that movie, it felt like, you had Johnny Depp, you had Al Pacino, and for your role, you were essentially an underboss. So you were superior to Al Pacino's role. And so like, it was very intimidating, when you came in that first scene and you were mentioning that, like when the director was saying, the first time when you first came in and, you're seeing him and, after you walked away when he's like, "I think I just shit my pants." You know what I mean?
Right.
and it was so intimidating. And you kind of cemented, who you were right then and there, in just that 10 seconds.
Yeah. So, it's funny how I got the role. If I can just compress this story, I was here in Los Angeles, and I had reconnected with Al out here in Santa Monica, and we started playing paddle tennis. It's like a small tennis court, and we were playing, and he went back to New York, and they were casting Donnie Brasco, and I called my agent. My agent called the casting people, and they said there was nothing in the film for me. I called New York, and I got Al's guy on the phone who travels with Al, and I said, "Listen," I said, "they're casting Donnie Brasco, and I can't. My agent said they won't see me," and he said, Robert, "I'm making Al's list right now as we speak. I'll put your name down."
Wow.
So yeah, the next day I get a call from the casting office saying they want me to come to Sony Studios, pick up a script, and I'm going to meet with Mike Newell. Okay, so cut to the chase. I'm in the room with Mike Newell, two other actors, and we read, and we finish the reading, and then Mike Newell stands up, and he says, "Well, thank you all for coming." And he reaches over to me with his left hand, and I felt that was kind of strange, because where we come from, somebody gives you his left hand, it's 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 almost insulting. And for some reason, it got me a little. I got hot a little bit, My ears got a little hot. So I walked outside, took a breath, and blah, blah. I came back inside, and he's still with his left hand thanking the guys. We're in New York, and we're shooting the film. And I say, "Mike, tell me something. You saw all these people, for that role. Why did you give me that role? Why did I get that role?" And he said, "Robert, it was your cruel eyes." So maybe, when he gave me the left hand, I gave him a look, and he saw that look, and he said, "That's the look I'm looking for." So who knows, but that's an interesting, I thought that was an interesting, that was something else, something interesting for me.
Are you able to share maybe who else was up for the role? Or I understand that if you can't, but are you able to share kind of who else was up for the role?
I'm sure a lot of people were. I don't know for sure, who else was up, but I know a lot of people were up for the role.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, it was quite an experience to be there in New York and working with Al. It was kind of a hoot. It was a lot of fun. It was exciting.
I know the Bruno Kirby role that originally they were looking at Joe Pesci to potentially play that role, and I don't know if there was any truth to that.
Okay.
I'm not picking up on that, but they were thinking of Joe Pesci for that role. But I love Joe Pesci. I think he's one of my favorite actors. But Bruno did such a good job in that role as well. Yeah, he was awesome, and
He did a great job. Michael did a great job too. I think who else was up for that role for Sonny Black? I think it's God, why? Anyway, there were other actors, a lot of other actors that were up for Sonny Black, but they gave it to Michael.